There once lived a beamingly handsome, intelligent, and talented boy who was a product of two even more beautiful, intelligent, and talented beings. Their supernaturalness only could be explained by being carefully handmade by Eros and Aphrodite themselves. In fact, their ethereal attributes were so profound, they allowed them to reap the benefits of fortune and fame, and best of all, eternal youth. Their last name, Star, suited them perfectly in every way. Furthermore, apart from their breathtaking looks and mesmerizing charm, the star spouses shared a love so deep that even the ocean was jealous. Their pure adoration for each other was apparent to all, and their relationship became the ideal for what every mortal being strived to obtain. Most unusual about the star couple was what they projected on the outside was an actual reflection of their true being. Not only did everyone want to emulate a different member of the star family, but they also wanted to be a part of it. Except for one person, that is, Slade Star. Slade Star, the only offspring of the great star lovers, had just about everything that one could imagine. Besides inheriting his parents' cosmic looks and luminosity, he lived in a beautiful castle overlooking the sea. He could obtain any item he could ever want at the snap of his fingers, and best of all, had always been provided the warm embrace of a nurturing family. Now, I'm sure that you don't not only wish to be in his shoes like the rest of the world, but more astonishingly, why he does not want to be in them himself. Slade had come to believe that his idyllic lifestyle and the model of his parents' flawless marriage was a curse rather than a blessing. Never having had to work for anything in his life and any materials out of reach, he no longer felt excited or surprised by anything. He felt unfulfilled and almost that he had no real purpose in life. He had a constant aching feeling that it was as if he were hollow on the inside or that a piece to his puzzle was missing. There was one thing in particular in his life that Slade couldn't seem to obtain easily, and it drove him absolutely mad. It made him feel even more like a disappointment, that he had not yet found the kind of love that his parents had almost nauseatingly displayed for him his entire existence. He always wondered how it could be that two people who have been together for centuries could manage to never get sick of each other, and beyond that, seemingly fall deeper in love with each other each passing day. Slade found himself teetering between the two thoughts every day. How am I a perfect product of my perfect parents and haven't found my perfect love? But more often the thought, how will it ever even be possible to find a love like that? It wasn't that getting girls was ever a problem for Slade. As a matter of fact, they always flocked to him naturally due to his astounding looks and radiant glow about him. Not once was he ever even able to go without a girl and approach him everywhere he went. Furthermore, these women were not just any woman, but the most beautiful and sought after in all the land. From the most acclaimed movie stars to the top models, he could have his pick of any. This reality made it even more infuriating for him, that even with all the women he had encountered, why had nothing ever come of them? Why hadn't he felt the slightest bit of attraction to them, no matter how hard he tried to force it? He knew that none of them were the real deal. Though his hope was dwindling, each night Slade would peer over the balcony across the sea and recite, "If you're out there somewhere, make your way to me, and happily ever after we shall be." Across the sea lived a man of a completely different lifestyle, one of intense labor and uncomplicated simplicity. This man's name was Sailor Moon. Sailor was born into a broken family and never knew his father. He lived with a single mother who managed to scrape up enough to get them along somehow, but never having more of what they absolutely needed. As Sailor was of age, he took on the working responsibility as a fisherman to provide for him and his aging mother. Though he grew to be content with his mundane life, he still longed for something more. He had everything he needed, but felt incomplete, as if he was only half of a whole. Growing up in a household without a model of what true love was, he was determined to find it for himself. He was deemed a very handsome man, chiseled from his laborious lifestyle. He always had many women suitors admiring him on the dock. He was flattered, but never felt any real connection with them and didn't see any point in wasting his time. Even though he never witnessed true love, He had seen what it wasn't, and that was enough to scare him into never getting into something he knew in his heart wasn't a fit. Every morning, he would venture out into the sea, and he would look out and recite to himself, "If you're out there somewhere, make your way to me, and happily ever after we shall be." Tired of a loveless existence, Sailor set out on a mission to explore his lifelong fantasy of true love. He finalized his map, gathered a few of his belongings, kissed his mother goodbye, and took his boat out on his journey with no definite destination. After days at sea, Sailor finally got a glimpse of what looked like promising land. Around the same time, Slade Starr was doing his nightly love affirmation when he noticed something out of the ordinary. It was unusual to see a small-sized boat out that distance this late of an hour at night, he thought to himself. So Slade was quite intrigued by why and what it could be about. He watched as the boat got closer and closer, almost as if he was going to crash right into the rocks beneath him. He immediately rushed down to aid the seemingly struggling captain. When Slade reached the shore, his breath was taken away. When he was met with an enchanting man, he had never felt this way about anyone, and that achingly empty feeling he always had in his stomach started to fill with butterflies. "Hi there, my name is Sailor Moon," said the man as he reached for Slade's hand. Sailor had never been so happy to see anyone in his life after that long of a voyage, let alone this sensational man standing before him. For a moment they seemed longer than eternity that Slade had been alive for. They gazed into each other's eyes before shaking hands. After the exchange, Slade invited Sailor to the castle upon finding out that Sailor had no place to stay. The two effortlessly conversated for a moment that seemed longer than the eternity that Slade had been alive for. They gazed into each other's eyes before shaking hands. After the exchange, Slade invited Sailor to the castle upon finding out that Sailor had no place to stay. The two effortlessly conversated all night long until the sunrise, that they then blissfully watched together. Though they had just met, each one, both had the feeling like they had known one another all their lives. Even with completely different backgrounds and upbringings, they managed to agree on just about everything from pizza toppings to their beliefs and the importance of eternal love. It was then that the realization occurred for both of them that this strong instant compatibility was something that doesn't come along often, or quite frankly, ever. Neither of them had ever experienced this type of bond with a woman before, but this power in their connection was too strong to be ignored. Overcome with this powerful sensation, unknowingly that the other was going to do so as well, they blurted out in sync, "The one has finally made their way to me, do me the honor, and never set me free." As the words left their lips, so did any weakness, replaced with strength and fulfillment. They had accepted that love has no limits, sexuality, distance, or boundaries, and this truth set them free together for the rest of eternity. Slade and Sailor had joined their lonesome halves into a complete whole. Their connection put an everlasting shine into the sky above, so that lost lovers everywhere could have the light to find their other halves. For as long as soulmates Slade and Sailor love, the moon and stars will ignite the way for people to regain their power upon becoming one with their perfect partner, just as they did. This story was inspired by Plato's story of soulmates in the Symposium. In this story, according to Greek mythology, humans were originally created with 4 arms, 4 legs, and a head with 2 faces. Fearing their power, Zeus split them into 2 separate parts, condemning them to spend their lives in search of their other halves. When a person meets the half that is their very own, he exclaims, something wonderful happens. The 2 are struck from their senses by love, by sense of belonging to one another, and by desire. They don't want to be separated from one another, not even for a moment. So they would throw their arms about each other, weaving themselves together, wanting to grow together. In Aristophanes' speech, he explains, the source of our desire is to love each other, and that love is born into every human being. It calls back the halves of our original nature together. It tries to make out one of 2 and heal the wound of human nature. Each of us, then, is a matching half of a human whole, and each of us is always seeking the half that matches him. This story helped me to understand the grand question at hand, what is love, and do we have a soulmate? My interpretation of the theory is we all are in part male and female, the yin and the yang. When we meet someone with whose energy is totally in harmony with our energy, they become our soulmate. This is why they come together. but total harmony is very rare, and when it happens and you find your lost half. I truly believe, after delving into Plato's theory as well as Joseph Campbell's teaching, that we do have a soulmate. Joseph Campbell's teachings in the chapter The Tales of Love and Marriage in the book Power of Myth, he states, marriage is not a love affair. A love affair is a totally different thing. A marriage is a commitment to that which you are. That person is literally your other half, and you and the other are one. A love affair isn't that. That is a relationship for pleasure, and when it gets to be unpleasurable, it's off. But a marriage is a life commitment, and a life commitment means the prime concern of your life. In my myth, the characters did not want to settle for a love affair that would not bring them eternal, lasting love. When they met their marriage match, they knew that that was their person forever. Campbell's quote further reiterates that belief and brings us to the grand question, asking, do we have true soulmates? After hearing my myth of the two soulmates finding each other, Slade and Star, as well as Plato's symposium and story behind his reason for soulmates, as well as Joseph Campbell's teachings and beliefs, it's up for you to decide, do you believe in soulmates? Thank you.